Hi, third grade. We're going to be learning about length today, and before we start our lesson, I wanted to give you a little lesson with our ruler, because this is what we're going to be using to measure length. Okay, so if you've watched the video for vocabulary, you know that we use in the U.S. customary units inch, foot, and yard, and mile, okay? And so what I want to show you today is the inch, okay? And as you can see here, we don't start measuring until this line. So this little piece of wood doesn't matter. The end of it doesn't matter here. We start on this line, okay? And then we go into our inch mark. If we were going to go to the half inch, that would be in between this line, which is 0, and here, okay? So that would be a half an inch. Now, if we went from the 1 to the middle in between the 1 and the 2, that would be 1.5 inch, okay? So this is the customary unit, and then we go ahead into feet, or this, it would be 1 foot, which is 12 inches, okay? So one ruler is 1 foot. And then to get the yard, we would have to put 3 rulers together. So as you can see, it's like it's your arm span, okay? So a yard is much, much longer. Then what we're going to do is flip it over, and we're going to look at the metric units, because that's on the other side, okay? And that's where you're starting to measure with centimeters, okay? So you see they give you the 0 for centimeters here, okay? And 1 centimeter is pretty small. It's like the tip of my finger, okay? And so that's centimeters. And then these itty bitty lines in between here, those are millimeters, okay? So then if we put a couple of these together, there would be the meter stick. Now the meter stick and the yardstick, they're both pretty long, and they're both very similar, okay? The yardstick's a little shorter than the meter stick, okay? So I want you to think about those things as we're doing our lesson today. I'm gonna click out of the video and we'll get started. So we're going to estimate and measure the customary and the metric length, okay? So our objective is that you will learn to estimate and measure length using both units. So if we look at unlocking the problem, you can estimate and measure length and distance to the nearest half inch, inch, foot, and yard using customary units. And so here are some examples for you. It shows you that a marker is about ½ inch wide, okay? Just a ½ inch. So then it says name another object that is about a ½ inch wide, and I would say probably your thumb, okay, is about a ½ inch wide. If we're looking at a small paper clip, that's about 1 inch long, okay? Something else that's an inch long might be a cracker, like if I cheese it, okay, if you had to cheese it. Then looking at the foot long, they have about a piece of paper is about a foot long, and you can use anything like a binder, a piece of paper, maybe a book that would be about a foot long, and then a baseball bat is going to be about a yard long. Okay, and then in our vocabulary video, we actually use the door as our example from the bottom to the doorknob, okay? And then moving down to our metric units, centimeter and meter, okay? So a child's finger is about 1 centimeter wide, okay? I would also say if you have like a pen, that would be 1 centimeter wide, and a door is about 1 meter wide. And look how they say this length of the door, not up and down, okay? All right, so let's move on and get to some measuring here. So we have a ruler, and you want to think about measuring to the nearest ½ inch, and centimeter is like, it's just like rounding a number, okay? And so if we were going to look at the first little flower clip here, we line up the left end of the hair clip right here, okay, with the 0 mark, like I said before. And then the right end of the hair clip ends right down here. And if you have a piece of paper, what you would want to do is you would want to draw this line, okay? So you could see where it landed, all right? And so it's in between the 1/2 inch marks for what? It's in between the 1/2 inch marks for 1 inch and 2 inches, okay? So the length of the hair clip is closer to that 1.5 inches than it is to 2, okay? And so the length of the hair clip to the nearest 1/2 inch is 1 1/2 inches, okay? And that's just like how we did in fractions when we learned the mixed numbers, okay? So let's go up to this clip here. This is a binder clip, and we're going to be using centimeters for this. So you line up the left end of the binder clip with the 0 mark, and then we line up the other side and we draw our line. Mine's not as straight as that one. Okay, and so the right end of the clip is between the centimeter marks for 4.5 centimeters and 5, okay? The length of the clip is closer to 5 centimeters, okay? And we don't really have to use 1/2 centimeters for this. I want you just to estimate to the centimeter. So it's closer to 5 centimeters than it is to 4 centimeters, okay? So the length of the clip to the nearest centimeter is 5 centimeters, okay? And that is by looking at our line here, okay? All right, let's move down. So we're going to look here to the nearest 1/2 inch. How long is this crayon? Now it says, think, is the crayon closest to 1.5 inches, 2 inches, or 2.5 inches, okay? So what you would have to do is you would have to get your ruler out and you would go ahead and measure this, okay? And I'm just going to share with you that this is close to 2.5 inches, okay? All right, so now we're going to actually, we can measure or we can estimate. So the length of your math book, well, our math books are pretty thick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get our math book out and I'm going to measure it. Let me see if I can get my camera back. Okay, here we are. All right, so here's our math book, right? And I'm going to take our ruler. And if we look, ooh, but guess what? We need to do centimeters, okay? So take our math book. I'm going to start here at the 0, and we end right around 27.5-ish. Yep, that looks about right. All right. So the length of our math book is 27.5 centimeters. Okay. Now, if we were doing the distance across our classroom, that would be huge, right? And we're doing it by feet, just this, okay? So if we know that 1 yard is actually 3 of these, and we go across and across and across and across, this is going to have to be a measurement that we estimate, okay? So imagine this ruler going across your classroom, okay? How many of these would it take? So I'm thinking I'm going to go with 30 feet. That would be an estimate. Okay? All right. These are great because these are also estimates. Okay? So the width of a bulletin board, would that be 4 inches or 4 feet? Actually, I'm going to come back here. So think of your bulletin board or maybe your whiteboard. Would it be 4 inches big or 4 feet big? Or I should say long. So we're going to go with 4 feet long. Okay? The length of a football field. Well, some of you have an advantage here because if you know the sport of football, you know that there are yards on a field. Okay, and each yard is measured. So the football field is actually 100 yards long. All right? Okay. Okay, so here we would measure the length to the nearest unit for inches, yards, and centimeters. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to try using some other things that we have in my room right now. So it's at a length of a piece of chalk. I use my little stylus here to write on my computer. So we're going to do the stylus instead of a piece of chalk by inches, okay? And so we're going to start, and we're going to start at the 0 mark. Ta-da. And we're going to go to, look at that. It's almost 5 inches. So since we're estimating, we're going to say it's about 5 inches, okay? The distance from your desk to the water fountain, that's pretty far, especially if you're in a classroom that doesn't have a water fountain. So we're just going to imagine that we're in a classroom with, well, none of our classrooms have water fountains now, so we would have to go all the way out of our classroom, right? That's a lot of yards. Let's just round and say 100 yards, right? That would be huge. Okay. A stamp. How many centimeters would a stamp be? Well, if I take a piece of Post-it paper, a stamp would be about this big. Okay, so let's measure the stamp in centimeters. Remember, you're going to flip your ruler, okay? So if we get up close here, it's almost exactly 2. You see that? So I'm going to say a stamp is about 2 centimeters. All right, and then there's this piece of string here, and I am going to use my brain and know what I know about inches, right? How long do you think the string is? I think it's about 1.5 inches. My 2s never like to turn out. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do the best estimate for the length of a straw and the width of the doorway. So, the length of a straw, would it be about 20 centimeters? Here's 20 centimeters from here to here, okay? Or 20 meters. We're thinking centimeters, right? And then the width of a doorway, we have 1 yard, 1 foot, or 10 inches. Now, here's 10 inches. Doorway's definitely bigger than that. Here's 1 foot. Doorway's definitely bigger than that. So we're going to go with 1 yard. Okay? All right, I'm going to skip this page. And we're just going to do this last piece here that talks about length again using different units. And so they showed us here that this circle is about 2 centimeters. And if we look at the little snail, I think, inches. And that's going to be, I'm going to go with 1.5 inches. There we go. All right, so let's try some estimates one more time, and then we will move on to the next section. So The length of eyeglasses. Well, you guys are in luck because Mrs. Waterfall has her eyeglasses here. And we're doing centimeters or meters. So, here I come. Centimeters or meters? Definitely 12 centimeters. Okay, the height of an adult. Is an adult 6 inches high? That's not even the height of my face, so that wouldn't work. 6 feet would be a better estimate for that. Okay? The distance to the school library, that's definitely, if we said, here I am in my classroom, 60 centimeters, the library is 16 centimeters. No, it's got to be 16 meters. Okay? And the width of a soccer field. So think about football too. We said football was 100 yards. Soccer is 80 yards. All right. So what I want you guys to do, and you're going to do this for your reflect section, you're going to take a ruler or a yardstick, whatever you have at your house, maybe even a measuring tape, okay? And you're going to measure some things in your house and share those with us, all right? So what I want you to do now is move on to the next section of your HyperDoc. I believe that is your slides for length, okay? Good luck.